welcome to Emily Kate Made This. I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. Welcome to my 1930s bikini episode. Yes, you heard that right. I decided knitted bikinis, that should be a thing. So I deep dove into the world of Pinterest maybe two months ago. To be fair, I've done it several times over the last couple of years, but I've never been brave enough to give it a try. So I came across some of the pins that I had pinned, and I then found this sensational bikini. Now, I found it so hard to trace the source of this bikini, and I still have not. I, at some point, found it on Pinterest and clicked into it. I found it fascinating. Then I had to request that I could get the pattern. But that happened ages ago. And then on one random day, I got an email saying, "You've been granted access to this," and I thought, to what? And I opened it and saw this amazing bikini. Then I had no idea if I had been gifted this as a pattern or if I had asked for this. So I then went through various things on my phone to try and find out where this bikini even came from, and eventually I tracked it down that I must have asked for permission on Pinterest. So I don't know which magazine it comes from, which book it comes from, but on the pattern it says 1930s bikini. In my mind, it looks 1940s, but then when I actually thought about it, just because there's this idea of 1930s doesn't mean that when you got to 1940 on January 1st, that suddenly everything was different and everything was typically 1940s. So it could be 1938, 39. Just in my mind, when something's 1930s, it's like early 1930s. But alas, that is the pattern. That was a long-winded way of explaining this pattern. So I decided I would give it a go. It looked super easy. I don't know why. I don't know why I decided to jinx it with thinking it would be really easy and then it not be. But there is a twist. There is a twist. I decided to use my knitting machine. The pattern was, I'm going to get this wrong. I knitted 3 different things on my knitting machine at the same time. So I've got all of the gauge things all mixed up. I will write it here if I'm wrong, but pretty certain it was 8 stitches to 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters. And there was no row gauge. But when I looked at the pattern, I thought, I can do that on my knitting machine. So I tried. I will let you watch the footage now and then come back to you. Okay, attempt swatch number 1 on tension 5. Goodness me, that's dusty. I'm not sure if that is going to be tight enough, so I will do swatch number 2 on tension 4 and report back. Okay, so tension 4, and it is harder to knit, so I'm really hoping that this one will give me 8 stitches and not that one, because that's a lot more difficult to move the carriage across. Let us have a little check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Damn. Okay, and you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Aww. Oh well, I suppose I'll just have to use some more of my non-muscle to do it. Interesting. It's now 8 if I put it over here. I can hate swatches. They're just liars. Little tiny liars. Well, that's going to confuse me immensely. Let's just do it all over it. And then I'm winging it. I do not understand how that is supposed to look anything like that. None of these shapes look the same. I'm immensely confused. It says to do the right side, which I think this is actually the left boob, even though it says right side. But then it says cast on in blue wool, which I did in beige, and the rest of the instructions. But then for the next side, it says to cast on in for the next side, it tells me to cast on in the opposite colours. So instead of blue, aka beige, cast on in red and then swap. But if you look at the picture, they aren't swapped, and I don't understand. It's like the worst instructions I've come across, I feel. It just says sew centre back seam. Which one's that? It's a sausage, a curly sausage with various shapes. It's not a triangle, it's not a square, it's just misc. I have no idea what to do. Is this looking like a bra to you? Because to me, I just don't see it. Hello, little update on the bikini. So I think I know what I'm doing, but I can't guarantee it. This is the left boob. On the pattern it says the right side, so I thought that was the right on me, but it's actually the right side of the model. So it's the left one, assuming I've figured this out and I'm doing it correctly. So I think this will be the middle. The pattern seems to have it at an angle like this, so all along the edges will be a red strip of ribbing. I think that is where the strap will go, so it should look like this, and then somehow it's gonna do up at the back. I did start the second, then I thought I did it all wrong, so I took it off the machine, but I just laid them onto each other and I think it was fine. This is what it looks like, and so it's really frustrating because it's all curling, so it's really hard to see if it looks like it's right or not. So I think I will rip back a little bit because I wasn't really happy. I think I'll rip back to just this red section and start again, because I started using my new tool on the machine and then realised that I was decreasing too many at the same time. So, oops. So I will pick those up, put them back on the machine and start again, because now that I have seen that I think it might possibly work, I feel a bit more enthusiastic. Let us continue. It's definitely very tedious to individually hang everything back up, but hopefully it will be worth it. Somehow I've gone wrong again. Ugh. You know how I took all of the stitches off because I thought I had done it wrong and then I redid it? I did that wrong. It was right the original time. Hello, so I have picked up all the stitches here. The neighbours are shouting. Oh, this orange, and I'm gonna rip all that out, and then I have decided, I think, instead of putting this back on the machine right now, which will take about half an hour, yeah, it's just very slow and tedious because the stitches are really tiny and they're really tight and it just takes a long time. So I think I'm actually going to do the rib for the bra part, and although I was going to do that by hand, I've just seen I have to cast on 250 stitches just for like one part and then knit several rows. So I decided I will do mock rib on the machine and do it in half because I don't have 250 stitches on this machine. So I'll do 125 twice, mock rib, fold it up, and then see if that works and sew it together. So this will be today and tomorrow's job. So these two pieces are different. For some reason this one is going more inwards, whereas the original one that I did, the first one, is a lot longer. And this fits on this one, but it doesn't really fit on this one because it's too long, even though these are the same, like the amount, same stitches. So I don't know if I can block it and make it work. I'm not really sure what's happened, but yeah, they kind of are different shapes. Why? It's absolutely defeating me. I genuinely can't figure it out. I think I have to sew this together, but then in the picture it doesn't look like that. It looks more like it's just this, but it's not. Then it says to stitch gauze, and I have no idea what a gore is, and when I Google it, it's more like panels. Obviously I don't stitch a panel into it. I need to put it at the widest point, and I don't know where that is. The picture is terrible. This only fits on one half. I am so confused and so stressed by this thing. Also, the instruction says to do the ribbing for the upper edge, and you have then the straps here and here, but then it says just to pick up 18 stitches in the center for here, and that's just not going to work. So then I keep thinking, is this facing the wrong way? But then where else can it possibly face? So there's no row gauge, I only have the stitch gauge, and that's fine. But I am feeling really irritated by this now. Yeah, the instructions are really messing with my brain. Basically, it'll say like back right, work as back left, but knit instead of purl, and do this color, like red instead of beige. When you read red, it should be beige, and when you read purl, it should be knit, and when you read this, it should be that. And then halfway through those instructions, it'll say, okay, now work as front left. Oh. And then you look at that instruction, and that sends you to the other instruction, and it's really confusing. Got far too much in the zone, and instead of finishing somewhere, where am I, down here, and going on to the front left side instructions, I just continued doing the back right instructions. So I have to rip all of this out, which I just spent the last like 45 minutes doing. Concentration, Emily, concentration. Here we go. Okay, so progress. This is the back right. I'm using these shorts to bring myself to some sanity because I was panicking about the angle, but it seems to be the correct angle. And I have one on, nope, I have one on this side, and I do have the other one, but it's with me at the machine to try and make me feel more comfortable that I'm doing it right. So this one is done, and I'm working on this one. Oh, but yeah, it's really playing with my brain. and I am also about to run out of this beige, and I don't have any more. Sorry. I don't know really what I'm going to do with myself. Having a stripy bikini then with one massive red stripe would be horrendous. So I'm just going to see how far I go and then panic later. Oh, it happened. I ran out. And I have... I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I mean, it's literally that much left that I have to do. And it's on the front. And it's going to be... It's going to just have to be ignored because I don't have any more. That is so annoying. I have harvested some of the beige from the other parts, and hopefully this will help. Let's try. I have this much, and I'm decreasing on each end. I am so confused. So this is where it was supposed to end, like all the others, with this tiny bit of white, and I'm just like still going, still decreasing, and I still have 6 more rows. And I've already checked my notes, and I had the correct amount of stitches like 10, 20 rows ago. I don't know how anything could possibly have gone wrong in that time, but apparently it can. So now I just have to count every row until I figure out where I went wrong on this really simple last part of it. I have definitely not enjoyed any part of this project so far, so it better be the most beautiful thing I've ever worn by the end. Well, that is off by a lot, and I don't get it. Hello! So, I hopefully have made all the pieces. I will try and show you with this front camera. That'll be nice and awkward. We have these two, this one on the floor. I am now doing the waistband, but obviously I've run out of yarn. So I'm going to have to order some more of the red, and I really don't know how much I need. I need to do the waistband, and I need to do the leg bands, and then I need to do all the bits on the bra. I still haven't figured out the bra. I am considering buying extra yarn and following a different bra pattern from the 1940s, because that one seems to make more sense construction-wise. But I'm not giving up. It is here. I cannot figure out how it goes together at all. I'm going to take the pressure off of myself, and I'm not trying to finish it by, which was supposed to be tomorrow. I wanted to do a YouTube video like every week or every 2 weeks, and this project that I expected to take about 3 days is going to take about a month in total, which is hilarious. So I definitely thought I would have this done for summer, and that I would have it done like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, more like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I have to wait for the yarn to arrive. I haven't ordered it yet. I have to come up with something else that I need in order to make it worth it, because I don't need to pay €7 postage for a €5 ball of yarn. So I have to think about this. And in the meantime, I will continue on a different project that I have that has been running alongside this. So when, sorry, my arms are getting tired. I just have to put you in a really unflattering position. I've been getting stressed with this project, so I've interchanged between 2 projects. But I made a bunch of mistakes on the other one, so then that one got stressful. But whilst I'm waiting for the yarn, I will work on that one, and then that video will probably go up before this one. I'll give you a little quick peek at the rib. It's always concerning when it's on a machine that it looks too big, but I think it'll be alright. This is just the front. I need to make 2 of them. So it's folding over. This is the part I just didn't think about. When I have to make mock rib on the machine, you do doubles. So when it says do 2 inches, I have to do 4 inches and then fold it up so it looks like that. And obviously I did not account for that when I bought the yarn. So yeah, my fault. I'm balancing you on my bookcase, so hopefully you don't fall over. Good news. Preliminary try on, and they do fit, so that's very exciting. And I do have to do some things like sort out all of the ends. The seams, not gonna lie, seams are pretty bulky in the intimate area, but I'm thinking maybe I could trim them down, possibly. Although looking at that is incredibly close. Oh, and I missed a bit, so no trimming. In fact, I have to make that better. Yeah, so I will fix that. I have to bind off the stitches and then sew it onto the shorts. And this one I have to, once I've done that one, I can then take this off of this scrap yarn, bind that off and attach. Then I have this much yarn to play with until my next 2 balls arrive in the post, so I can cast on one of the leg bands perhaps. I haven't decided if I will do it on the machine or if I will do that by hand, because that could be kind of bulky because it's a double layer and it's mock rib, whereas if I just do normal rib for a small amount, it's probably less yarn and I was going to say faster, maybe faster. We'll see. So I shall update when I have some updates. Hello. Yeah, I have been sewing for 4 years and I am still super nervous when I sew. And I decided to sew my bikini bottoms with the sewing machine. So let me show you. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I have absolutely no idea if these are going to fit, what size. I just did a seam allowance that was the smallest that would fit on my sewing machine. I haven't measured them at all. These are some shorts that I own and they seem to work. I'm going to measure them in a bit. I've got the tape measure, but I'm just sewing up the sides. I accidentally caught one of these in there, so I have to do some surgery. But that is either the front or the back. I'm now seaming the front and back together at the sides. The instructions say to leave room for the zips, because apparently there are 2 zips. I only knew about one, but I'm going to see if they fit without a zip, but I'll just sew one seam and try them on. I have my bands, my waistbands, which I also need to sew on, so let us see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to attempt the waistband. I'm very nervous. This is really thick. I do have a walking foot and I have a jersey stretch needle in, so I'm doing as best as I can. Oh, I'm nervous. I am unsure if sewing it on the machine is going to work or not, because I can't change the width of my stitch, so I'm not sure if it's going to make it too small, but we'll see. I also haven't done the shoulder straps yet, so I'm gonna have to leave a gap, I think. and then make them, because I don't know how long they need to be, because I'm not 100% sure where this will sit on my body yet. So yeah, lots of guesstimating. Yeah, I can't change the width of my stitch, which is really irritating. So although this one says width, it's actually more just like where the needle goes. Of course there's construction now in the background. Yeah, so I get the feeling this is just going to zigzag like about here, which might not look so good. Hello, so update. Let me just hold my phone differently. Update, I really don't think the bikini is going to look very good. I thought about picking up the rib and hand knitting it, but then it's going to look completely different to the rest of the knit, like everything else. The waistband on the shorts and the cuffs, and yeah, but looking at it, I probably should have. I'll show you, hang on. This is it. There are some bits that need adjusting, so obviously I need to put the straps in, so I left a hole. And I need to seam those together because my sewing machine could not eat the thickness of this fabric, so that will come down and that will go over. But it's so bulky and it does not want to sit flat. This is too bulky to go in the sewing machine, so I have to hand seam that down. But yeah, it just looks a bit naff. But hand sewing that, it was something like 260 something stitches across and 2 inches, and oh, I don't remember anymore. I just keep knocking this over. It was just not going to be fun and it would hurt, so I avoided it, but now I have this mess. So yeah, don't know how I feel. I will wait until it dries and then try it on and see what happens. So, you've seen it. What do you think? I have mixed feelings. As you have been through the dramas and chaos along with me, you will know the bra was the bane of my life. The bra drove me insane. In the end, as you will have seen, I did not follow it 100% to the pattern. So, in the picture, I was kind of fooled in the picture thinking it was exactly those colours and it was going to look like that. But whoever painted it, whether it was a black and white picture that didn't have a colour scheme and somebody later on coloured it in, or if they coloured it in with just different colours, I don't know. But in the pattern it tells you that when you're knitting it, this one would be like cream, red, but on this side it would be red, cream, and I didn't want that. I wanted it to be equal, like the same, like the picture, and I did not do the same, I did not do all of this to pattern because I just about figured it out, but I couldn't figure it out off the knitting machine. Then I did think I could have done it all by hand, all the ribbing, and just picked up and basically followed that technique but by hand. But then I thought all the ribbing being different would look really weird because the ribbing is quite a key feature on the shorts and on the base of it, and I thought it would look weird if I did it by hand. If I was to redo it, which I will not be, if I was to, I would probably do it by hand because it would probably be a bit tighter, because sewing it on with a sewing machine, and I really should have made it thicker so there was more space to seam it onto the body. But alas, I did not do that. I did consider adding elastic to it to draw it in a bit more, which I could still try. I just at some point thought I'm spending a lot of time on something that I'm probably not going to wear. But when I wore it to the beach the other day, I actually really enjoyed wearing it, so maybe I will wear it more often than I think. Then I'll spend more time finagling and fixing bits. But the straps are not meant to be double, but I just did not want to hand seam all of this together for the same reason. If I'm never going to wear it, why would I spend a day essentially? It would take me an entire day to seam both of these on both sides. Why? It holds up fine. So it's a new design feature. I did have to adjust the back because it just gapes, and to be honest, I haven't even looked at the footage to see what it looks like on. It's probably got a lot of dangly ends because I haven't finished weaving in the ends, and I did not realise this until I was at the beach putting this on, that I forgot to trim off the dangly ends. So I ended up just knitting a button loop and putting on a button, a vintage button. And then when I wore it, it was really gappy and weird, so I've put another button on the inside and another button loop to try and stabilise it a bit more. But don't know if it really worked. The instructions for this part really threw me. I still have no idea what they mean. At what point were you supposed to pick up this mysterious 18 stitches or something? I don't know. My voice is already going, that's weird. So basically, I made all of that up because I could not understand the instructions. And all the other parts I kind of made up based off of guessing what it said. It said to add small gauze. To me, that is a dart, where you fold in the fabric and seam it together to bring in like more of a cone shape. A gore to me would be like a panelled skirt. So it didn't tell me to add extra panels, and it said see image or see illustration, which is really vague. If I put it here again, it's just a drawing. It's not like an actual picture that you could look at in detail and see different angles. It's just a drawing. So I just went with sewing some darts where it should point to. Then it said to ruche as illustrated. So that's this chaos to give it this sort of bunched up look. It's not the nicest, it's not the best. I've never done that before. When I find a technique that is explained properly, I'll probably redo this in that way. But for now, it's fine. So it's not hugely practical because I can't really bend over. I definitely cannot go in the water with this. But I might actually just make a vest top from a different 1930s or 1940s. I think it is a 1930s pattern. I might do that later on using the same wool, and then it would be more like I'll put a picture. I might make that to go with the shorts, because the shorts, I love the shorts. I'm so pleased they came out well. There's one thing that I would change if I knew how to, and I think it's more to do with probably short rows or something. Basically, they sit a bit low on my back, like they're higher up on my belly than they are on my bum, so they kind of sit like this. And I think if I knew how, I would add short rows so that it would sit straight. And I thought these would come out too small, and they actually came out quite roomy. So theoretically, if I wanted to, I could undo the seaming and put an elastic waistband through, because the joy of this mock rib is that it's folded, so there's gap, there's space all through this whole thing, because I folded it over and then seamed it at the side. So technically, I should be able to put a band of elastic in there. I've just seen that I have caught a stitch. Ooh. So I love these. I think these are great. I know they give the world's biggest toe, but they're so fun, and I'm really quite excited to try wearing these during the winter. I thought if I have tights on, I could put these over the tights, and then when it's really cold, I'll have a very toasty, warm bottom. I hope. That's the plan. I will actually update you on that in the winter when I'm wearing these, how it goes and if it works, because I get really, really cold. I don't have great circulation, so when it's really cold I can wear all the jumpers and all the coats and all the knitted socks, but my legs are still cold. So these, yes, very pleased. I did get a bit stressed with the leg bands because I thought there were way too many stitches for the leg band in comparison to the whole waist. There was like 160 stitches, which was my entire machine, and I thought, my thighs are not that big, it cannot possibly need to be that big. And then when I tried to sew them on, they were too small, and it was really stressful, and I was trying to stretch it out, and I had this interesting moment, not sure what you would call it, but you know when you try to avoid something that you don't like and then it follows you round? I really want to knit and sew jersey fabric on my sewing machine, but I cannot get the neck bands to sit nicely. They always just look such a mess. Even though I know the theory of how to do it, I've watched loads of YouTubes, it just looks horrible, and I hate unpicking with the seam ripper all those stitches, and even if you get it right on the neck, it'll go wrong in the armband. So I've been avoiding it. For about 2 years I've got this project that collects dust, and I take it out every now and then and think I'm gonna do it. Then I don't. Well, I had to do that for this, of course. It is knit fabric, and I was trying to put a knit fabric and a band together, and you stretch it. You make it smaller than the hole and stretch it slightly as you sew, and that's how you always get the puckering and all the things that all go wrong. I do have a walking foot on my sewing machine, so that does help with stretch fabric, and I of course used a jersey needle so I wouldn't damage the wool. But I did then have to do 3 times this stretching situation, and then my mum sent me a message asking me to help with my brother's pyjama bottoms that were damaged, and how to insert the elasticated waist into the stretch fabric. And I thought, this is following me. At some point I have to actually face my fears and try it again. But after blocking this and pinning it out in like a bazillion pins, it did unpucker basically entirely. There's a little bit, but also this is quite thick. It's pretty thick, and the seams are very thick, especially down here. There's a lot of fabric going on, hence the toe. All of that. It's like a lot going on. I'm really happy that I sewed it with a sewing machine. I would have absolutely hated seaming all of that by hand. I don't even know how I would have done the stretch and seam to get the neck, not the neck band, the leg cuffs in. I don't know how I would have done it. I almost managed to line it up. This one went well. That did not. But I think on the front it did. And on this side it did. So I'll just have to make sure I never face anybody with this. So very, very pleased. There's something else I wanted to mention on this. When I was knitting this on my machine, I realised after finishing the whole thing, I was asleep and I wasn't even dreaming about anything to do with this at all, but the second I woke up, my eyes opened, I thought, I've been doing all the decreases wrong. And I immediately got up, went over, got my tablet, went onto YouTube, looked up decreasing on knitting machines and realised the reason that it came out such weird, oh, and on this actually, on both, it came out different sizes on each side, was because I had to reverse the pattern. As you will have seen and I've talked about multiple times in the footage, I had to reverse it. So it wasn't written out as you can, there's the left front, there's the right front. It was all like, look at left front, reverse colours, swap pearls for knits, switch increases for decrease. Like, it was just like, look at this and then reverse everything. And because I can't reverse everything on my knitting machine, everything is knitted with the purl side facing. So I can't swap things. And for me, I just got very confused. I'm sure someone who's used to knitting machines could do it and they just know. And in time and with practice, I hope I will be that person that just knows. But at the time I didn't, and I was decreasing, but I wasn't. I was essentially casting off every time, so I made really tight, bounded off stitches, which is why one of these came out, I think it's here, you bind off, and one of them's really tight. This makes no sense, I'm sure, but basically I just did the decreases wrong and made all the fabric really tight. And the same thing on this one, so it was quite difficult to get things to match up. And I just realised when I started a new project, which you will see later, not in this video, but later in light, I realised as I naturally started to do this other decrease, I never did this on this. I was supposed to do that on this project, and that is why it didn't work. So I did learn something, that's nice. If and when I try to make another bikini top, I now know this. And I will hopefully have a much better fitting bra. Fingers crossed. What else was it I just thought of? Yeah, the long and the short of it is, it was really, really hard for me to read the pattern and swap it into a knitting machine pattern. But I would not have knitted this by hand because it's too much stockinette and too tight of a gauge. I purchased this wool. This is the Istex Kambgarn, and I actually thought I bought that and that it was 400 meters per 100 grams, but it isn't, it's 300. And I then panicked that it would be too thick, but the gauge was 8 stitches and my gauge was 8.5 stitches. So it came out too small, but I actually wanted it to because the pattern is for a 36-inch hip and I have 35. And I wanted it to be tight, so I was more hoping for like 34-ish. And this fits, thank goodness. So my gauge being off was great. And funnily enough, this one was supposed to be 32. I'm going to try and auto-correct myself here. This one was supposed to fit me because most of the bras that I come across are all for a 36-inch bust, which I do not have, and I just have my brain and knowing how to convert all of the stitches and all of the decreases and all of the things to adjust to my gauge is not in my wheelhouse right now. So I actually wanted this pattern because the bra was supposed to fit, and this is too big. It just felt like it fits, but if I wanted to actually go in the water, I would have to redo this whole thing. And to be fair, I don't think I would want to go in the water with these either because they're really thick. So they're more for lounging on the beach. Like, I definitely want to make another bra, bikini. Really, really want to. I would still do it on my machine, but one of them, which I've seen, and you may have seen, Engineering Knits has knitted this one. I'll put a picture if I can. It has a boat on it, a fair isle of stranded knitted yoke, and I really, really want to make that. So I might try, I'm getting messages. I might try knitting one half with the knitting machine and then knitting the rest by hand, but it might look weird. I might try knitting it plain and duplicate stitching something on there, or I might just do the shorts on the knitting machine and do the bra by hand. I'm undecided. Yeah, undecided, but I'm delighted, tickled pink with how it came out. Have you ever knitted yourself a bikini? Have you? I am curious. I really want to make one that can go in water, but I have got some German magazines, and they actually, and I think this might be where I got the mix up with my wool, they recommend this sport weight wool for bikinis. And I think when I was ordering the wool, in my mind I wanted this because it was merino and I didn't want superwash. And then it was sport weight and I was like, oh yeah, they use sport weight in the German pattern. And I don't even know where this pattern is from. I don't know if it's American or English. It does have a really cute little saying on the bottom because there's an amazing, like, what is it? Amazing jacket that goes with it, and it has a pocket, and then it says, "Where's the ice cream man?" And I love that. But that sounds very British. So it could be British. Don't know. I really wanted to make that jacket to go with, but I had no idea how much wool I would need, and even though it says how much you need, in reality it's different. It's not the same as modern yarn. And of course, if you're silly like me and you buy the wrong weight yarn, you will run out, like I did. I did indeed run out. So this is a completely different dye lot. And also in the pattern, I'll get this all mixed up, but like in the pattern all of this is going to be beige, and then on the other side, like this side was all, they're all inverted basically. All of this is inverted, and when it said you needed 100 grams of red, that's if you were following the pattern where you're swapping out the colours, and I didn't, and so I didn't have enough. And my weight of yarn was thicker, so that affected it, so I would not have had enough, even if I had ordered what I thought was enough for the jacket. But if I make a top, 1930s top thing to replace this so that I can actually go outside, I might order some more yarn to make the jacket with the pocket, because it's really cute. And I have this very romantic idea of going somewhere Nordic like Sweden and going for an ice cold plunge and then coming out of the water and putting on my woolly warm jacket and being like, I'm toasty warm again. It's a dream. Everyone needs dreams, so that's mine. So I think I will wrap that up there. thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Be nice. And if you enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing. That means the world to me. And I will see you next time. Bye!